There are days where the energy when I wake up feels like exuberance and ecstasy is rising from the ground without me having to do very little. It's just there. Okay. There are other days it feels like you're walking in soup. You know, and it's very dramatic the way it feels without me having to do anything. It's just like, this is assessment and this is what I'm feeling, right? And of course, the pleasant one, the pleasant energy system is what we prefer, but in the challenging one, or the one in which we have to kind of discover that whatever is happening is an opportunity for us to unroot, first of all, recognize that some fragment of what we're feeling, and it's probably not all of it, but some aspects of it exist in us. It's grounding somewhere inside of us, and it's triggering fears and all kinds of things in us that's not dislodging. And finding a way to remove this is important. And the first thing we have to do is stop denying that it is not there. Because a lot of time when, oh, I'm feeling horrible, I don't want to deal with these feelings, and I want to push it away, and I'm trying to go into the feel good rather than going into the feel good energy. When you're feeling the resistance, go into the discomfort, acknowledge the resistance, and query, have a conversation with the resistance. Where is this coming from? Is this 100% mine? Is it from the outside, or is it from me? If it is not from me, if it's not 100% mine, what percentage of it is me? And whatever that percentage is, what's the root cause? And if you ask these, and you pause in between, right? Each one of them to wait for the answers to show up for you. And then the resistance become a teaching moment. It helps you unveil a blind spot you didn't see before. And that's an opportunity for you to expand and grow, and to have something where you can consciously and actively begin to dismantle, to remove, so that you no longer have to experience anything like this again, right? This is what ascendance is. It's about self-awareness. It's about the elevation of consciousness. And that elevation of consciousness cannot happen by focusing only on light. What is it that Joseph Campbell said? It is in the cave that we are afraid to enter that the treasure that you seek exists. So if you're afraid of going into the discomfort, you're not going to be successful at ascendance. There are so many people out there that are in false ascension mode. Everything is about light, and yet and this is what they're doing day in and day out. I remember years ago, this is a former student of mine who was there saying the violet flame 8 times a day. Okay, Saint Germain violet flame. Now, Saint Germain violet flame is a perfectly good thing to say on a daily basis to help remove negative energy, to transmute, because it's the 7th ray and it allows transmutation, ceremonial order and magic and transmutation. But if you're saying it 8 times a day, and then when you don't say it, you're completely disabled and you can't function, this is a crutch. This is a complete crutch. You're not doing the real work. In other words, the violet flame is the welfare system. For her, anyway, it's the welfare system of the spiritual community. It's a way for people to go into feel good without them genuinely looking inside of them as to how they're co-creating their conditions. I know so many people in the light community were spending a lot of time focusing on the light, and the ascended master of the angels, and everything is a sign. Every cloud that they see in the sky, every license plate, every configuration, everything is a sign that some ascended being is trying to tell them something or some. No. That, you need to focus on ground yourself and focus on what is in front of you. What is it that you're not doing that's causing your whole world to fall apart? And a lot of these people that I know that are like this, their entire life in 3D is in complete shambles. It's complete and utter chaos. And it's in that awareness that you begin to realize that they are not grounding and they are not focusing and they are not manifesting what should be manifested, because they exist in a false reality, right? And so now that Wesak is a week away, Wesak will be next Sunday. So on the class, the 6 to 8 o'clock time slot, the class will be canceled. We will be doing Wesak. Many of you will be coming from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I want to remind you that in preparation for Wesak, and this is always true for all Wesak, there is a great level of dread or shame that needs to be removed in order for you to uncover and accept the light and the blessing that are going to come from participation in the event. And I want to cover this in great detail today because I have witnessed too many strange things to happen. I remember people who were speakers who lost their voice literally 2 days or 3 days before we start. Or I remember another group 3 students who were coming from New York. I usually leave 2 days earlier when we were doing it at Garfield Retreat Center to go up there to start setting up and get everything in place and talk to the caterer, do all the things that are necessary. I remember one year, this group that was, they actually called me and texted me and said they were leaving. It was 6 o'clock. Okay, 6 p.m. They were gonna get the car to leave. There were 3 students that were renting a car to come upstate. They show up at 4:30 a.m. Everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong. They couldn't get the right car because there was no proper insurance. They kept going from one rental place to another rental place to another rental place. And when they finally left the city, it was in the middle of the night. They got lost. The GPS malfunctioned. They ended up in the middle of the river in the middle of nowhere, that somebody had to kind of help them turn around so that they can figure out how to get to the Garfield Retreat Center. They didn't show up till 4:30 a.m. in the morning. There's been so many instances where right before the event, some sort of, and so in order to avoid all of this, I'm trying to forewarn you, you should be working on your practice that you've never had before. You should be focused, creating time to align yourself, to create the practice and allow yourself to communicate. I have already sent, all of you already signed up, the opening prayers, the channeling. You should be aligning yourself to that energy already because it's already overriding you, and you should be in communion to allow the whatever undeservedness exists in you, whatever shame that exists in you, because you have to remember, it's the original giver and the receiver. Okay, the giver was giving all the time to the receiver, and the receiver was simply receiving, but always reciprocating by being grateful. So the issue is that at some point the receiver stopped being grateful, and instead of being grateful, he became entitled, and the entitlement brought the bread of shame, the undeservedness. So what I'm saying is that some great benefit, some major transformation and benefit is about to happen for you at Wesak. And because it's about to transpire and open up, you're going to have resistance, because there's a part of you that's going to feel undeserving of this blessing that's going to come. The same way, at the moment the receiver realized, I can't do this anymore, the shame is too big, and said, no, I don't want any more. I don't want any more light. I don't want any more ease. And the moment that no happened, there was a cutoff. So we exist in that state of, I'm undeserving. So in order for us to accept a blessing, I am asking you for this week to exist in gratitude. Because the one thing that will remove the bread of shame is gratitude. Separation, fragmentation, undeservedness, and fear cannot exist where gratitude is. They cannot exist. So count your blessing and be in deep reverence for the gifts received. Understand that, whatever is going to transpire at Wesak, you should be repeating over and over again, thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude, as a way to prepare yourself toward Wesak. You should be repeating this over and over again. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude, as a way to allow yourself to mentally and spiritually be ready for the blessing that's about to happen. So that when the channeling occurs, when all the celestial beings that are going to come in to overlight us, brings us the blessing, we are already prepared to accept it. The separation is not coming from spirit. We are the one that are creating the separation. It's the undeservedness that's creating the separation. So we should be, and I'm level of difficulty is that I've witnessed for Wesak is unbelievable. I have witnessed people who literally have created car accident. I've witnessed everything. From cold, from loss of voice, from or the next year there was another student who was supposed to be there, and she got stuck in the middle of Maine, in the middle of nowhere, where there are no bus and no transportation for her to come to New York, so that she can be at Wesak. I have witnessed all kinds of things. This is the reason why in certain spiritual world, when you go to a holy pilgrimage, they ask you to start saying rosaries or start saying a mantra days and months before, as a way to prepare yourself, so that by the time you get to the destination, your road would open up. So as a preparation for this, I am asking, I'm going to send an email about this as well, but I want to talk to you personally about this, and I'm asking you to be in gratitude. And instead of focusing on the negativity, realize that everything that's happening in your life is happening for your benefit, and be grateful. Even the negative experience are there to teach you something, and be grateful for them, and continue to pray on them, and continue to be grateful, and ask the universe to guide you and to give you light, and to continue to and move on and move on and move on like this, to open you up until you get to a point where you are genuinely transformed and changed into something else. And so that when the blessing comes from the celestial beings that are going to be channeled at Wesak, you allow them to come in. Because otherwise, you are not going to allow it to come in. You're going to create a catastrophe. As the gift come in, you're going to create a negative backlash, either before it or right after it. I've had people who left Wesak, benefited floating in air, That same day when they drove back to New York, I remember this one girl, she drove back, she parked her car. As she was parking her car going to her apartment, she got robbed. That's what I'm talking about, negative backlash at the before after, because you feel undeserving of the elation and the elevation that you're receiving. We don't need the drama, okay? We don't need the drama. That beat, that old thing is passé. Let's move in with the easy button. Let's make sure that only the good happens, and let's make sure that only what benefits us and aligns us with positivity. Multiple times, people, and I remember this going out as a Catholic boy, a lot of times you're going to a pilgrimage, you do a novena, you do 9-day prayers prior to getting to the pilgrimage as a way to prepare you and to align your consciousness, as a way to do penance. And the penance and what you're doing during the novena, by the discipline of what you're doing, you're removing your shame. You're removing your undeservedness. So that by the time you get to the Wesak, by the time you get to the event, the shame is completely removed. Because when you get to a high elevated spiritual event and you're not prepared for it, you have spiritual altitude sickness. And you begin to be short of spiritual breath, and you begin to pant, and you begin to be out of shape and out of ease, and instead of it being a pleasant experience, it ended up being a difficult one for you. So my recommendation is for you to allow for this great ease and flow to happen in a completely different way for you. By preparing yourself, by being humble, and by realizing that there is a greater good that can happen for you. And I remember, all kind of weird electronic car accident, all kind of weird stuff that happened to people prior to the events. And I can enumerate a whole bunch of incidents, and that's not, it's not relevant at this point. But I can share with you that if you can remove your shame and you can spiritually prepare yourself, and you're not in normal consciousness, and then you just boom, go into the spiritual event, but you prepare yourself toward it, you're going to end up having a completely different experience. It will end up being a truly holy, transformative experience that will activate you into, meaning it will motivate you into action, okay? And it will activate you into transformation and change that is to take place from Wesak on forward. And remember that Wesak is the highest spiritual festival of the year. This year, the title being Finding Safe Passage into the New Earth. And the subtitle is The Rise of the Phoenix. How do we move into our light bodies? So it's very important for us that we begin to realize that we have to remove all of the negativity and the undeservedness. We have to, and you all have so many tools that I've given you. Wherever your blockage is, whatever the pocket of resistance is for you, you need to genuinely work on them, and work on them like you've never had before this week leading to the Wesak. As a way, it's like saying the novena, or somebody going to a pilgrimage when you're going to one of the holy mountains in the Himalayas, and as you're climbing at every crossroad, you're doing prayer flags, you're doing all kind of rituals to help, to ask God to guide you in this quest, in this journey. Because whether you realize it or not, you're journeying toward the light. You're on a quest. And that quest, at every crossroad, you need to be in alignment with what the path that you've taken, the steps that you're taking. Each step that you're taking is a way for you to remove the shame and the undeservedness that will eventually, because as you're climbing either spiritually or physically. If you're hiking, as you're climbing altitude and you're going higher and higher, you have to stop, particularly when you're going too quickly. If you're going, let's say, from sea level to 5,000 or 8,000 feet, you can't climb it in one day. The air becomes too thin. You would run out of breath. You will not be able to. You will get sick. And so it's that same idea that you should very gradually acclimate. And as you're going up, every step becomes a contemplation, a reflection, a meditation into what's going to happen for you at Wesak. Any questions, any comments? Now, I know that some of you have had personal experiences that you may not want to share at this time, but I know, for example, that I'm trying to put together, one-day program, because we used to do Wesak 4 days. One day in New York, which would be the week before, and then the following weekend, because Wesak usually falls during the middle of the week. This year it falls on a Tuesday. Then the following weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday will be 3 days in the Catskills. And I've had instances where during the Catskill event, utter chaos breaks out. People start fighting. There are all kinds of, again, people who have not removed their shame, who are toxic, who are not aligned, that are not doing things correctly. There are all kinds of weird altercation and bizarre behavior. Instead of brotherhood, instead of love, there are weird dynamics that get established again, because when you're revealing light, the darkness the contrast is always there. So what you're doing as you're preparing for Wesak, you're asking God for guidance. So you're asking for the darkness to be removed and to be included completely in light. In whatever way that you're co-creating, contributing, and connected to it, you're asking for it to disconnect to you, so that you will be only revealing the light and you will be connected only to light. Any questions, any comments? So many moons ago, and for those of you who've been with me for a while, I had done a Wesak in 2008, in which there was a lot of conversation about the DNA reconstruction. It's a download that I received that came a year before, and it was about a series of connection to higher celestial collective that was trying to help us regrow our 12 strand of DNA in our living body. And so this was the big revelation of that Wesak. And I remember when the Wesak was over, I was offering for people to do this, because I channeled it. I had received it before. I read it, presented it at the Wesak, and then I asked if there anybody that would do it with me, because I had just channeled it. I didn't do it yet. And 2 other people accepted, said, okay, we'll do it. And so the 3 of us started doing it on a daily basis. First, it was the recording that we listened to. And it was 12 celestial collective who came in, each one of us connecting to us the mean by which all 12 strands of DNA can be redeemed and recreated and realigned, with the understanding us having 2 strands of DNA, having had originally 12 strands, by this process and the connection to these higher collective, those strands, the other strands would start growing out of what is called junk DNA. And so this went on for me at least, several months, maybe 3 or 4 months, where I listened to the meditation, and it got to a point where I knew a few words. And there was no necessity for me to listen to the recording anymore. And part of it is because my own body's timing, because each of the collective comes in and they install certain things and they do certain things energetically. And it occurred after listening to the recording for a while, my body's timing became very different than the recording. So the recording was actually more of an annoyance than anything else. So I stopped listening to it. And I was in my head, I knew the words, I was moving through it, allowing my body's timing to expand me, to grow, and to allow the change and the transformation to occur. It was amazing. Amazing. And then I have to tell you that the first thing that happened with this DNA reconstruction, and this is the first 2 months, I thought something was wrong with me. Because where I felt sensation in my body when I listened to the recording for the first month or 2 was in my crouch, in my groin. And I thought, I cannot be connected to celestial being like, the Cosmic Council of 12, the 24 elders in front of the throne of grace, and that they're coming and they're doing all of this stuff. And why am I feeling it in that part of my body? It bothered me to know, and I thought it was a shame. I was like, you're the one that's defective. Something is wrong with you. So I remember in a group call with these other 2, I asked them, I said, this is what I'm experiencing. Are you feeling it this way? They're like, oh my God, I felt the same way too. I thought something was wrong with me. I didn't want to say anything because I felt ashamed. And so I become aware very quickly. It was, what's the word? It was the Kundalini that was energy that was rising. And it was creating activity in that area of her body, allowing for the energy to begin to surge back. After 4 months of doing this, again, I'm doing it without the recording, 5 months, no recording, I begin to realize that it was better for me to focus on 1 month doing one collective. Let's say the first collective is the Cosmic Council of 12. And whatever the Cosmic Council of 12s were doing, I needed to do it and let it happen for the 30 minutes of my meditation completely. And I have to tell you, and in the next month, I go to let's say the 24 elders in front of the throne of grace, and then, Galactic Region Council, and whomever else is the next collective that's doing whatever it is that they are supposed to be doing. So as I did this, month by month by month for 12 collective, I reaped the greatest reward. It was extraordinary what came through. And as I began to realize how powerful this was, more and more other students joined us, instead of the 3 of us who started it, more and more people started to join to do this practice. I have to tell you that initially, when I started this practice, there was a zehapin. There was a glass ceiling or fear that I had to overcome. Because I'm scientifically minded, I'm an architect, and I'm kind of empirical. There's a part of me that's very much a pragmatist. And I knew that mutation and growth in DNA and change and transformation occurs in nature when a species is about to go extinct. Let's say there's a species of bird, when Darwin went to Galapagos, says a bird flew in an island and there was finch and they had a certain size beak. The island was a complete desert and there was no way for them to get flour, to get all the pollen, all the stuff that they used to eat before. And when they're about to go extinct, the birth of new birds in an arid, dry environment where there are only seeds. These birds, the new hatching that came from the mother, came with hard beaks, and they were able to eat the seeds that were in that island. Therefore, they mutated to adapt to the location. So what was being proposed by the channeling that I received, I knew at the time was, what's the word? I couldn't figure out how it would happen, because scientifically, according to Darwin and everything else that I knew, it's not possible. And one of the fear that I had to overcome when I began to do this, particularly when I'm feeling a sensation in my groin, is that am I gonna be like Neanderthal man? My arms are gonna grow long and hairy, and my knuckles are gonna go down on the floor. That kind of thinking. And of course, what actually happened was something quite the opposite and quite extraordinary. There were so many extraordinary benefits, and I can recall, I will recount a few of them. One of the things that happened for me is that I begin to experience what is called often night vision. So I would be, for example, trying to, after doing my prayer, doing the DNA reconstruction before I go to sleep at night, I would go in my bed, turn off all the lights, trying to close my eyes. Everything in the room was lit up. I could see everything in the darkness. It's a weird state of being to be in, where you know the light is off and there's darkness, yet you know exactly what I can explain it. It's like it's a black and white state where you can actually see through the black and white, and you know where everything is. It's not the same as normal vision. It's not in color. It's more like in black and white, but you can see everything. You know where everything is. You have an intuitive sense of direction. It's like everything's in black and white, but you know where everything is, and you're not supposed. I remember being upstate, and I remember sharing this with my class. Actually, one of the other people from the group said this. I cannot sleep at night because I'm all lit up from the inside. And I was like, oh yeah, I've experienced that as well. I know exactly what she's talking about. It's like all of a sudden, it takes you a minute to fall asleep because you turn off the light and you think it's going to be dark for you to sleep, but you can't sleep because you can actually see everything. And it takes you a minute to kind of calm down so that you can go back to sleep and fall into a slumber and finally genuinely go to sleep. I'm going to cite you two examples. I remember one time being up in the mountains in the Guyville, and I was supposed to go to a restaurant or to a friend's house for dinner. And it's the new moon, and therefore there's no moon outside, and I'm rural. There's no street lights, there's nothing. Therefore, it's so pitch black that if you put your hand in front of you, you can't even see it. And I turn off all the light in the house. And there's a series of steps and a small little rampant hill that I have to go down to get to my car. And as I start going down, as I turn off the light, so on and so forth, and I walk around, the night vision went like a flash in front of me. I could see every step. There are at least 7 or 8 steps to go down. I could see every step. I could see every blade of grass. I could see everything completely through. And I just walk with assurance every step down because everything was pitch black. I just walk. And I clicked the alarm, the door clicked, I opened the door. And the moment I opened the door, sat in the car and closed it, it shut off. It just shut off. I remember a second incident. This is maybe a few months later. There was a meteorite shower that was happening, and it was in the middle of the night. The show was going to happen between midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that. I don't remember exactly the timing, but it was like around an hour timing that everything was supposed to be happening. So I decided, I'm going to get up because I want to see it. Sure enough, I went to sleep early. I got up and I went outside. I was alone in the house. And I went on the grass. So from the porch, it's kind of a rolling hill going down. I went on the grass, and I lay down. And as I lay down, I was stayed out in the grass, and I could again with the night vision, I could see. It was still dark, but I could see the meteorite that were flying around like a light show. And maybe I saw 6 or 7 of them. Maybe I spent, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes. What was bothering me after a while, there were insects that were trying to come next to me, like spiders and all creepy crawlers that was coming in the night, ants, whatever they were. I was like, okay, I'm bothered by this. I'm going back inside. I could have stayed longer, but I was like, I'm not feeling comfortable because I had no top, no nothing. I was just laying on the grass because I wanted to see it directly, right? And I was like, okay, I'm going back in. So I went inside, and when I went in, I went back in the house. I went back to bed. When I laid down in bed and I shut off the light, what happened this time was that the ceiling, the roof, I have an attic above me. The roof and the attic, I can explain it. It opened up, and I could still see, while I'm laying in bed, the entire meteorite show. It was, and I did it maybe for 5 years straight. It was an extraordinary journey. And the reason why I'm saying this to you, it's because in our bodies, in our physical bodies, in our DNA, are stored light. Because the reason why life, organic life, us, evolved and grew, because initially the planet, the Earth, there was another type of amoeba that was growing on Earth, the life form that was methane based. Okay? And giving enough time, if the condition had remained the way they were, hot and radiation and all kinds of things, another form of life would have grown here. It was by chance that around the hot bed of liquid water and the rim of cooling volcanoes, that a green algae began to grow. And that green algae was absorbing carbon and was releasing oxygen through photosynthesis, not methane. And as this green algae began to grow and grow through the process of photosynthesis, meaning it was existing because of light, it was getting nutrient from light and growing and expanding as a result of light, that this photosynthesis process began to release so much oxygen that it begins to kill the other form of life that previously existed, the methane-based life form, where amoeba and cellular structure were destroyed and killed by this new growing green revolution. We eat green, we eat vegetables, whether even if you're carnivorous and you're eating meat, the animals that you're eating are eating green. We have in us, in the green, the vegetables, are actually frozen light. They exist because of photosynthesis. And inside of us, inside our DNA and our cellular structure, exists a light body. And it's this photosynthesis in this light body that this Wesak is preparing to bring forth as a way to allow us to step up into our higher bodies. So, and my experience with the DNA reconstruction certainly revealing this to me, because that night vision experience, and the multiple other miraculous things that are too numerous to actually get into, that had happened to me because of this. I remember this one student of mine who had literally physical surgery years earlier, where there was a nerve pathway that was cut. Listen to this. Nerve pathway that was cut. She began, and therefore in one of her toes, she couldn't have sensation anymore. Because of the DNA reconstruction, she began to have sensation in the toe. I had another student client of mine that came in. He was in a car accident, and he had a gash that went all the way to that part of his face fell off. And there was certain part of his mouth that he couldn't feel. I remember after the healing for him, and this is because I was doing the DNA reconstruction all the time, that energy was in me and passed through me. And I did a healing for him. He got up and he was like, oh my God, this feels so incredible, so amazing, blah, blah, blah. And he went in the bathroom. He was so humble. He started crying. And then he started going, oh my God, oh my God. I said, what's the matter? He said, I'm crying out of my left eye. It's not possible. The gland is not wired. I'm cut off from it. I don't understand what's going on. It took him several months to be able to use his mouth, because all the nerves that were cut off in his mouth were reinstalled. So I'm trying to say that there are it's not only for my benefit and to rewire myself and to bring myself into the right place, but it also to the people that I'm touching, that I am dealing with. In the process of my aligning to this light body, I am allowing other people to also connect to their own miraculous change and transformation. Any comments, any questions?
You forgot to mention that your eyes, the retina, your eyes, sometimes when I look at you, the retina is in your eyes was multicolored.
Yes.
It used to give the ray of the light.
Yes.
Like the blue, the violet, the yellow, yeah, you forgot to mention that. So
thank you for reminding me. And as I said, there were too many things to enumerate. I remember the first time it happened was 2009. This is a year later. I was at a Wesak I went to Austria, to Munstedt, Austria. And it's right outside of Salzburg. And I remember being there in this Wesak. And after the Wesak was done, my Wesak was a week before, and I went there a week after. And I went after the Wesak was done. I was sitting in a restaurant across from Jill Waters, because of this experience, she and I bonded. She's studying with us right now. And as she sat across from me, and there was a long table, a whole bunch of us, I don't know, maybe 20 of us, just long table in this restaurant, Italian restaurant. And she said, oh my God. I said, what's going on? She said, your eyes. I said, what's wrong with my eyes? He said, they're changing color. And she sat there and she kept on saying, she said, don't move. And this went on for, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. She kept on staring at me. And finally she said, okay, stop now. And she said, I counted at least 10 different shades of color that your eyes was changing into. And this went on for a while. as long as I was doing the DNA reconstruction and I was in deep spiritual work, it would happen. When I am walking around, all of a sudden there's a blue color that's moving, and the iris of my eyes is beginning to change. The whole color is beginning to change. And this went on, as I said, for a while. Thank you for reminding me. I completely, not remembering this particular effect of this. So what appeared impossible was genuinely possible. I have photographs and pictures of myself where my eyes, the iris is green, where they are blue, they're different color, because I don't know when it's happening. It's people that actually react to me and saying, what the hell is going on with your eyes? It's changing color. And then I have to take a camera and then take a picture of it. And I'm like, take a picture for me, because or at the time I would go to the bathroom and I would look and I'm like, okay, they're right, it's changing color. And I don't know, what I'm saying is that this was the inception or something. And I don't know exactly where we're going to land, but I sense that the DNA reconstruction is connected to this, because it's connecting me to alignment to it did connect me to alignment to the release of the biophoton. That's the key. In physical matter exists frozen light, which are called biophoton, okay? And that biophoton is what was released from me at night that allowed the night visions. And we're literally, as I said, and other people doing the DNA reconstruction, other people that were doing the DNA reconstructions, they were saying, I remember Kathy said, I remember one time she said, yeah, I can't sleep at night because it takes me a while, because every time I shut off the light, I have light inside of me that's radiating in the room. Everything is lit up. It's very distracting. It takes me a while to fall asleep. And that's when I remember I said, yeah, I have the same thing too. I know exactly what she's talking about. It's the biophoton being released. It's the DNA reconstruction activated to a very powerful state. Okay, so that the process was downloaded, as I said, 2008. The information has been given to us. It was accessible, and for a while there, we followed it for quite. I know I did it for 6 years straight, 5 years straight, and other things came in, and I moved into other stuff and all of that. And I benefited tremendously from it. And my client and my students also benefited tremendously from it. I have a sense that the rising of the phoenix, which is the next phase of this, has to do with the connection to the biophoton that's in us, and the connection that the release of that biophoton will allow us to step into a completely different version of ourselves that will allow ease, flow, growth, and evolution to happen in a way that it had never happened before. And a revelation of it, because you have to understand, when I was doing this, 2008, the world wasn't not in the state that it was in. I was like a voice in the middle of darkness. No one would want to hear about a DNA reconstruction process. Everybody thought I was crazy. Yet, for those of us, there was a few that did it, it created a tremendous amount of benefit and change. And a lot of these benefit and change are still living with us right now. There are children that were born where their parents listen to the DNA reconstruction every day during their pregnancy, and these children end up being genuinely angels that came on earth, completely different than what they would have been without the listening of this meditation. And again, as I said, for the young man who had the car accident when nerves, part of his mouth were completely numb on the left side of his body, there were not only his tear glands were not working. So when he was crying, he was expecting, and went to the bathroom to wipe his tears. He was expecting the tears to come in the right eye. And all of a sudden he's like, no, the left eye, I'm tearing from that eye. I can't. And it happened instantaneously. He's like, I can't because the gland, I'm cut off from this. And the funny thing is that we have common friends. The following week, we met at a dinner. And it was this whole thing for him because a lot of his lips and the way he eats and the way because he had a car accident 7 years earlier, a lot of it, he had to get readjusted as to how, because he was talking and he was drooling because the nerves that were disconnected were reconnecting, and he had to find a different way on how to maneuver his swallow function because what was cut off was reconnecting. It was an hour healing I did for him. And this is one benefit. And I'm telling you, there are lots of other things that are connecting us to that. But I started first talking about the resistance and the kind of undeservedness that shows up right before you have a great spiritual breakthrough, and how the holiness that you have, the preparation that you have to do in order for you to get yourself ready. I remember the year, this is 2019, 2018, from 2018 to 2019, every day, everyone in our small circle did the Wisdom of the Mighty I Am Presence exercise. We did it every day until the Wesak of 2019. And at which point we did the Wesak, we did the fire ceremony, and literally after we did the connection around the fire ceremony, the alien light showed up when we went to eat in town. On the way back, this series of lights, the ETs followed us. And they remained at the house for almost a year. Again, always aligned to the, every night we would see them. So the degree of preparation that you do leading to a spiritual event is of incredible benefit for you. So if you prepare, I'm going to send an email about this. If you prepare the right way, if you're in the right spirit, if you allow for yourself to genuinely ask God to remove the obstacles that are blocking you, to make visible to you the shame and the undeservedness. If you exist in a spirit of gratitude, if you genuinely connect to the collective energy and blessing that Wesak is bringing, by the time you get to the event, the reason I'm saying this is because to all the people who prepared ahead of time, who did all of this efforts, who did all this preparation and all this stuff, who went in retreat and with internal to get to the Wesak, by the time they got to the event was brilliant for them, and they held the light that they received. The individuals who did not prepare, who were not ready, who kind of like came from work and kind of stumbled into it without getting themselves together and generally preparing for it, all kinds of things befell them, including them showing up at Wesak and trying to create chaos in the event. Because I've had Wesak where this woman became possessed with a demon in the middle of the theater where we were holding the Wesak. And I had to chase that thing out of her. I remember that so clearly, and I was so angry with her because Wesak attracts all kinds of people. And I remember that day, during the break, I had a line of people, and I was giving them a short healing, 5 minutes. I had just given her a healing, and then I was doing 2 other people. Some other woman, as she left, some other woman says, "I want to give you a healing." She said yes, and the woman just touched her. She fell to the ground, screaming, and I mean disrupting everything. And I remember stopping what I'm doing, dropping everything, and running to her because she sounded like somebody was literally actively torturing her. And I realized that something was in her, and I had to figure out, I had to get that stuff out. And after that, I scolded her. I said, "What the hell is wrong with you?" There are certain people in the light community that are like, forgive this comment, the way I'm going to say it, but there's no other way to say it. They're energy whores. Anybody that's offering them energy, doesn't matter where it's coming from, as long as they're claiming it's a healing, they'll bend down and they'll take it. I was so angry with her. I'm like, I just gave you this very powerful healing that I know. And what do? You go to someone you don't know, and this woman, whatever demon she had in her, jumped in you. Whatever it was that. And again, her own undeservedness, her own sense of not knowing, having no discernment and not knowing. Just because somebody said that they're offering to do something for you, you have the right to say no. No, I'm good. I don't need it. Thank you. Any questions? Any comments? So if you have gratitude and humility in your heart, and again, every time I'm going to go to a spiritual event, whatever it may be, I pray, I ask God for guidance. I make sure that I'm alive. I don't just walk in it like I'm, unprepared, particularly if it's high. This is the high spiritual festival of the year. And therefore, you will get out of it the effort that you put in. So if you're coming in and you're coming in without the sacredness and the preparation that's necessary, it may, prior to the event or right after the event, it may create all kind, because so much light is going to be revealed. And when there is so much light revealed, if you're undeserving of it and you think you don't deserve it, you're going to create darkness to shut the light off. It's not anybody doing it to you. It's you because of your shame and undeservedness. So you have to, the preparation is for you to remove the undeservedness and the shame, so that when the event occurs, when the light gets revealed, the benefit of the light becomes radiation, generosity, attraction, rather than it becoming, I'm undeserving of this. This is too much. I'm cutting myself off. Talk to your God. Genuinely pray and ask God to guide you. If anything shows up for you, resistant pocket leading to the Wesak, pray and ask God exactly what you should be doing in terms of because I've given you so many tools. Should you be querying this? Should you have conversation with whatever the resistance is? Certainly. And try to find in what way this is going to benefit you. Because if it's reflecting some aspects, some part of it that's true in you, what is the false belief in me that make me believe that this, whatever that behavior is, whatever that anchor is, that makes me believe that that false belief is true. And whatever that is, I have to dismantle it because it's not true. So many of us took benefited from this tremendously, and I know I did, and it created all kinds of change for me and made me ready for all the other subsequent experiences, spiritual experiences that happened to me that were, greater and greater and greater. Had I not gone on to this, because I had just held Wesak. It was the first year, the first Wesak I did was in 2000, Is it 2007? Yes, 2008. And it's at that 2007, I received the DNA construction. 2008, I presented it. 2008 and 9, I went first to Vienna and then to Salzburg. Yeah. And I did that for 5 years straight. Every day. And it was incredible changes, incredible transformation. Each of the celestial group that came in shifted me into something else. And there was all of this gifts, all of these awareness that began to be facilitated in me. All of these change and transformation in my physical body, what I can say to you is that many of these things are not describable. I'm giving you highlights that sound too fantastical to be true. But what I'm demonstrating, what I'm saying to you, were much more than that. They were much more than that. Because there was a connection to a higher level of awareness and consciousness that was so extraordinary. For example, my connection to Gaia, to the planet, becomes so powerful and so aligned that, the connection on how to connect to storms and natural phenomena, trees, plants, came to us. And I was able to share it with you. So many of the things that subsequently happened, even the revelation of this yoga of neutrality, came because of this DNA reconstruction. Had it not been for the fact that I went through it, I would not have gotten everything that I've gotten today. My channeling, all the things that I did because I was doing this, shifted completely. I know some of you still have the recording of the DNA reconstruction, so you might want to revisit this if you want. That's up to you. But I just want to say that since the subtitle of this Wesak is The Rise of the Phoenix, it's about the revelation of, or the transformation and transmutation of us into a light body, into a phoenix body. And however that shows up for you, however it's going to show up at Wesak, it's not completely clear yet to me, but I know that it is the next part of this journey that Spirit has been guiding our small group into. Any questions, any comments? I remember all kinds of things that happened during Wesak. I remember the first Wesak we did, and some of you that were with me, you may remember this. We were at the Hancock Capitol Theater. And right before we close, a man, I was asking all of us if this is the first day, after the first day. I was asking at the end of the first day. And then I was asked, and I remember because this is the first Wesak I'm holding. I was asking, I had one person who was a singer, who was a Native American, to come in, because I'm coming into a new region and I'm trying to do a spiritual thing. I wanted to respect the people who are the native of this, that are spiritually native of this location. So I was searching for people and all that, and I looked at a few things, and I wanted the Ascended Masters. I was inviting them to come in, and we knew the Ascended Masters were coming, and all kinds of things were supposed to happen, and so on and so forth. And at the very end of the day, must have been maybe a half hour before the end of the day, a man opened the door. He kind of looked like like a bum, white man with beard, piercing blue eyes, and he was wearing a suit that was not perfectly pressed or ironed. He was not smelly or dirty, but there was something about him that looked like it's not like somebody that was completely pressed, and this isn't far from being GQ, okay? And I remember him coming in the theater, and I don't remember what I was saying. I remember saying something to the effect, or if there is any ascended being or any celestial being that wants, we invite them to come in, blah, blah, blah. And as the time I'm saying this man is walking in at the back of the theater. I'm like, who is this man? Who, no one in the entire town knows that I'm doing this. The door is closed to the theater. He just walks in, all right? And then he began to, I said, can I help you, blah, blah. And so he said, I'm here to visit. Do you mind if I come in? And because of where I was in the ceremony, in the Wesak, I said, no, please. The long and the short of this is that every picture of this man that I took were all blurry. I still believe that this man was one of the Ascended Masters physically manifested. And he did say, I want to bring a gift to you from my people to you. And he went outside and he came back and did a little puppet show with lights. And he asked us, all of us, to come close and to look at the lights and to do all of this and so on and so forth. And that was his gift to us. But when he was looking at me, I could feel light passing from his eyes into mine. And I knew this man is not human. He's some sort of angelic presence that took a human vestment. There's something that was odd about him. I don't know if any of you remember this. That's on the call right now. Do you remember that experience?
I remember, Pierre.
Yeah.
I remember as clear as day.
Yeah.
And usually that's what happens when you are doing a retreat or a spiritual event, and then somebody come in, and usually they come in the most porous outfit that you can imagine.
Yeah.
And this is a way for God testing you, see if you are humble.
Yeah.
And if you are really including everybody in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because we could have said that he's not coming in because of the way that he was,
Yep.
because he really looked like a vagrant,
Mm-hmm.
not somebody without,
Yep.
you know. Uh, but I remember when he said that he has a gift
Mm-hmm.
that he wants to share with us.
Yep. Yep.
And he went back to his car and he got this thing with the puppet and he started doing that puppet show with the light.
Yep.
I remember.
Yep.
Bobby, you weren't there at the time? Bobby?
No, I don't think Bobby was there at that time. But I was
I
there.
remember that. I remember that story very well. I think I came in and Bobby the Wesak after. That was the one before, but we heard a lot about it for years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was there too. And I do remember he was looking shabby. That's the word you were looking. He was looking very
Shabby. Yeah.
shabby. You know, he wasn't like dirty, but he was looking very shabby, and his hair was not was kind of disheveled looking. You know, he looked like very humble appearance, but he looked very shabby. I do remember that, and him coming in and you know, and spending, you know, a little time with us. And he too, he said he was connected to the Native American as well.
Yes, I remember him saying that. Yes.
And the interesting thing about this all is that I remember who I was with. Somebody was saying, we got to get him out. I think it was Andre or somebody was saying, we got to get him out. And I'm like, no. This is an envoy. This is not a human being. This is an envoy from God. This is we cannot get rid of him, because that would be us cutting the light of God from us. And again, as I said, I have pictures of him for that Wesak. All of them are blurry. You can't distinct of him. It's like he's there, but it's like triple or quadruple exposed.
And when he went back outside, he just seemed to disappear.
That's good.
Yes.
Yep. And we just could not see him anymore. That's good. And I remember, because we were having a private event, I could have just gone out and said, you don't belong here. This is a private event. You have to leave. But where I was in the ceremony, what I was saying and invoking, I was asking the masters to come in and this and that and the other. And this man just walks in. I'm like, this is not per accident.
Yeah.
This is an envoy. Yeah. Yep. And again, we have to be prepared and ready for these things, and we have to think dynamically, and we have to realize that God, again, God's people shows up in all kind of look and presentation. I was taught this incredible gift about giving and receiving. I remember being in Sai Baba's ashram. This is several years later. I went to Sai Baba's ashram in India, in Puttaparthi. And while I was there, I experienced some extraordinary things, not from Sai Baba. In fact, most of the lesson I learned from Sai Baba was what not to do, because he was a guru and he had all of these devotees that were capitulating their personal power to him because he was God to them. And I remember as I stayed in my hotel room outside of the ashram, I kept saying, I'm not doing this. I was taking notes, writing in my journal, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. Now, I had seen many vagrant, poor people. I'm from Haiti. I know what poor people look like, what beggars look like. But I had never seen anything like this in India. There are some of the people are literally crawling in the dirt. They are so dismembered and spinal cord injury. They're literally crawling in the dirt. And so I what I did is that I took 500 rupee and put it in my left pocket. And every morning when I met with another poor person, I would take a few rupees. I give them 25 rupee, 30 rupee, 50 rupee, until the money was finished and after it was done. Because you cannot give enough. There's so many of them, right? So that morning, as I'm walking out of my hotel room, there was a woman that walks up. There's a woman that walks up to me with a baby in one arm, her sari, red dot on her face, teeth all blackened out, rotted in some places, and she looked at me and she says, "Food for baby, food for baby." And I took money out of my pocket. I don't know how much, like 30 rupees, and I was trying to give it to her. She said, "No, no, no, you buy food for baby." And then she grabbed me with her left hand and she started to pull me with force. And very quickly, she dragged me almost 3 blocks from the hotel to a street vendor. And then she stood me in front. This guy had all kinds of things there. And as this experience was going on, I had a major epiphany. I realized that so many times I've had the opportunity to give to poor people, and I gave them money so that they and their problem can go away from me. And for the first time, I was present and fully engaged in the act of giving. And I remember when I looked at her when we were standing in front of the food stand, and the vendor stand, he had everything. He had rice, all different kind of rice, peas, and all kinds of stuff. And I remember standing there and I looked at her and I realized for the first time how beautiful she was. Although she was dirty, the sari was not clean and all that. She didn't smell. The sari was not clean. Her teeth were rotten, but her hair was braided all the way in one braid in the back. There's something genuinely beautiful about Indian women. And I remember looking at her and saying, "My God, she's a beautiful woman," in my head. And then I looked at her, I said, "What is it that you want?" And then she said, "Milk for baby." And I asked the vendor for a gallon of milk, how much it was. And I paid for it and I gave it to her. She was standing on my right, I give it to her. And I turn around to put the money back in my left pocket. And as I'm trying to funnel with the money and do this, when I turn around, I did not see her. She and the baby were gone. Now the way the street ended right at the fruit stand. And then the street continued around the edge of so the street ended here and continued slightly off. So I thought she took off, and I kind of tilted my head to see where she was. I couldn't find her. So I looked around, I couldn't see her, and I walked back. It took me another 2 years to realize that it was the first truly genuine Baba who would he was big into giving and giving to the poor. And a lot of times the way he manifested to people was as a beggar. And what happened to me that day was that the first Sai Baba showed up to me as this woman. Because till today, there was no way, she was right next to me. It was not it's a matter of me taking the money and put it in my pocket, blah, blah. No, not even 20 seconds. I turn around, she's gone. The milk, the baby, everything gone. I looked around, I can't find her. So I've had strange encounters. Some of you, we shared them, certainly at Wesak. That first Wesak, that emissary that was sent to us. Certainly the other strange encounter was the 2019 Wesak when the ET lights followed us. Sylvia and Marjorie were in the car with me, and you all experienced this, right? I remember, Sylvia, you were sitting in the front right next to me.
Yes, yes, and Marjorie was right in the back there.
Yep. And we drew, literally not, it's not even a block from the restaurant. We just turn around. Right by the firehouse, I begin to see, I'm like, what is this light in the sky? There was 6 to 7 lights that were in a row, like stadium lights. I'm like floating in the middle of the sky. Maybe 200, 300 feet. I'm like, what is this? This is a new lamppost at the, why is it so high? I was so confused. Not one moment did I think it was ETs.
But it was following us, Sophia.
Yeah, yes, it did. It did. When we turned the corner, it was behind us. And
It was no food. It was no lamppost. It was it was driving the road with us.
Yes. The next corner as we
reached to the house.
Yeah. And again, these are strange encounters, and this is what I mean about benefit and light and revelation and all kinds of unusual things that comes in. It's not just the feel-good stuff that are inside. Sometimes it physically manifests. It shows up as something physical. And in this instance, we were all there, and I kept saying, "Did you see this?" I remember I'm telling Celia, "Did you see this? Did you see this? Am I crazy? Am I the only one seeing this?" And of course, at the time, you don't have your phone. You don't know where your phone is. I should have stopped the car and take a picture, to be perfectly honest. Now, in hindsight, of course, you have 2020. You realize you could have done a whole bunch of other things.
But Nativita did take a picture. Nativita was in the car too. She took a picture. And
no, that was like 6 months later. That was okay. Wesak was in May. That was in August.
Right, that's right.
That was in August.
Yes.
So the light was still around the house. And then we came from the same location again. We're driving back. The light is following us again. And Natividad came in. When we drove back to the house, it was still above the house. She took her phone and her camera. She took a picture of it, and we focused on it. And when we zoom, we open it up, you could see the lights. Yeah, she did. Yeah. So there are some genuine, incredible benefit. My hope for you this week is that you make the preparations that are necessary. That way, when you get to Wesak, you can enjoy the bliss, the light, and the benefit that it's going to bring to you. Any questions, any comments? All right, why don't we take a 5-minute break, and then we'll do a closing meditation. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing briefly and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. I become aware of the alignment that exists now between my heart and my mind. As I allow myself to enter into coherence, keep breathing deeply and slowly. Become aware of any undeservedness, resistance, fears, misalignment, and separation consciousness. that are keeping me outside of the perpetually renewing flow, ease, blessings, love, harmony, and genuine liberation. That Wesak 2021 will reveal for me. What are the energetic energy signatures of resistance, of undeservedness, and fears that are trying to sabotage this great revelation and ease that Wesak is? Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. I let go of all these fears, these saboteurs. I let go of the undeservedness. I release all of the resistance. And I release all of it into infinity times infinity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness. And endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachment, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. May all the blessings from Wesak that are coming for me next week be accepted and received with reverence, with love, and with deep gratitude. May all the incredible benefits, the lights, the revelation, the change and the transformation that are coming from this great revelation from Wesak 2021. Be received by my consciousness, humbly grateful for the liberation, the change, the transformation, the miraculous and instantaneous transformation that this event is going to create for me. This is the highest spiritual festival of the year. May I prepare for it with humility, reverence, and with a praying and loving heart, asking God and the ascended hosts for their genuine guidance, support in the dangerous path leading to Wesak. May every step that I take, may every word that I say, may every action be overlit by God and all of its agents. That I may become every day, every moment, every instant in this week aligned to the flow, the ease, the perpetual renewal, and the permanent and instantaneous change that this will create in me. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Pierre, so much for everything.
Oh, you're
For
welcome.
the healing, for everything. I'm so blessed. We're so blessed to have you as our guide. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody else before we go?
Thank you, Pierre. Love you.
Love you too.
Mhm.
I'll see you next week at Wesak.
Yay.
Yes, yes,
Looking forward to it.
yes, absolutely.
Bye, everyone. Love you all.
Love you too. Love you too.
Bye. I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night, all.
Bye, everyone. Thank you to all my Patreon fans and thank you for your support. We'll be off next week, but we'll be back in 2 weeks. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Good night.
Good night.